The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Yes, hello. We're back. How you doing? It's the old pervert from Minneapolis. How are you? It's Monday, April 8th. I had to stop and think about it. It's Monday, April 8th, 2024. It's 11 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the Sydney Opera House, and 10 p.m. Central Daylight Time right here in Elon Omar's district in Northeast Minneapolis. I am Jim Peters, and you are watching Jim Peters at Night back from 3 days off. This is show, if you're keeping track at home, it's show number 104. Now, before I go on with the just announcements and everything, I just want to point out the show number made me think of this. So last Monday, we did our 100th show, right? Yes. I'm all confused. No, it was 2 Mondays ago we did our 100th show because we've been taking a few days off. Sorry about that, but we have. So on that show, we were going to play the Gun Hill Road music video by Michael Harrison's band, Gun Hill Road. The music video is called Damn Scammers, Get Off My Phone, okay? So we were going to play it for our 100th show. He was in the hospital, so he couldn't join us on the air. We got so many calls that night, we actually did a 2-hour show, and we're not contracted to go over 2 hours. So that's the maximum amount of time we have with our distributors, and we cut it with 15 seconds to spare. Seriously, the longest show we've ever done. So because of that, I didn't get around to putting the music video on. We did it the following night. That was on Tuesday. That was show number 101. This is show number 104. So we took 3 days off last week, and it turns out there was an article in the press over the weekend about the fact that the Gun Hill Road music video got flagged by YouTube for misinformation. What? Now, I think I've told you we've done 100. This is the 104th show. We've done 103 shows. We've been flagged by YouTube 5 times in 100 shows. So this is not exactly. I've always gone in the assumption they will go cancel our ass sooner or later. I really have. I don't pay for that reason. I don't pay a lot of attention to it. A lot of people, you got to be on YouTube. You got to be in. Well, fuck. They're gonna kill it. They're gonna kill our ass. What the hell? What do I care? You know. That's how come I pay the majority of the attention of our 6 distributors to Rumble, and then of course we're on Blog Talk Radio, and there's an inordinately large number of people that listen rather than watch, if only because Blog Talk Radio has a real-time live directory, and so because of that, if you go there just to listen to something and we're on, we pop up right away. So for that reason alone, people, and then of course, and the other thing is they supply our call-in phone number, which I'll get to in just a minute. What am I doing? Yeah, so, but yeah, I don't really care about YouTube. Fuck them. That's why I say. And you know, we've been canned by Facebook. They canned us already. That actually surprised me. I thought it was going to be YouTube first, but I've had trouble with Facebook for years, so it doesn't surprise me per se. I mean, I can go back like 5-6 years on this. I've done projects on Facebook where they have just canned my ass constantly, and I know it's not an email address or an IP address because they've all been different. There've been different projects, different IPs, all sorts of stuff. I don't think they like me, and guess what? I don't fucking care. I do not care that they don't like me. I don't care. Okay, so what do you got going on tonight? It's Monologue Monday. Now, generally, okay, if you've never watched this show before, and I suppose with 100 episodes, there's a good chance you haven't. So we do this live Monday through Thursday nights on, if you go to gemini.com, that's our website, and go to the watch page, you will see a list and the links to the places where you can watch the show live, and also all those places aggregate our live videos for on-demand streaming too, so you can watch them all after the fact. I mean, and I'm not going to kid you here. I don't know how you're watching this. Way more people watch on demand than watch it live. I know that's true. So that's fine. You know, however you get your jollies, I really don't care. But okay, where was I going with that? Okay, geez, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so yeah, that's where you can watch us 5 different places, and also you can listen to us on Blog Talk Radio at blogtalkradio.com. Our channel on Blog Talk Radio is on that page too, even though the page is called Watch. We put it there. So yeah. Um Yeah, what's going on? Okay, so we're live Monday through Thursday. Usually on Mondays we don't have a guest. Usually. I will book guests on Monday if that's the only time they can do it. It's because we've been off for 3 days. There's a lot of news. Now in this case we've been off for a week. We did a show last Monday. We took Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of last week off. Um, and so we've been off for a week. There's a whole bunch of news to talk about, and so I just leave myself the time. I thought when we started this show, I thought I would do this on Thursdays, and also I'll get to this in just a second. Because we don't have a guest tonight, I really encourage you to call in. Please do. I'd love to talk to you. So there's 3 ways you can do that, or actually 2 ways. If you see on the bottom of the screen here, if you can call in with your webcam at gemini.com/call. That's not the instructions. You actually have to go to that page and press a big button at the top of the page to get into our video queue. But it's simple as pie. I know this is weird because people aren't used to the web interfacing with their camera. But no, this is the way this works. You go to that web page, you click the big blue button at the top of the page, and then you end up at a preview screen. You can check your camera and mic. If you have more than one camera or mic connected to your device, you can choose one. You can also mute your camera, although now that we have an audio telephone number, I don't think there's any reason you have to do that. But you can do that if you want. You can mute your camera and get the crap out of your teeth and all that sort of stuff. You get to see yourself. And you click the join button at the bottom of the page, you end up in the queue. And I put you on the air. It's as simple as that. Now, if you don't want to do that, especially I understand there's a lot of people who do not want their pictures on the screen. They don't want to be identified with this crap. So I'm cool with that too. So you can call with your phone 563-999-3435 right there, and that you'll get a sexy British lady who will tell you welcome to Log Talk Radio and welcome to our show, and she'll put you on hold until I put you on the air, and you can listen to the show through the phone while you're waiting. So there's that. This is all easy. You can also see this number right here. You can text us in real time, 408-458-5088. That I get those texts. I got a screen on the side here. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. And also, so you're wondering, why did I take three days off last week? We installed some new equipment. We got a new camera going on here. I'm very pleased with it. And we also have, well, I know this we have a new light, not lights. So we have a new light. But here's the deal with this light. This light is computer controlled. So we got this camera because this camera, the computer controls for this camera are more elaborate and more sophisticated, and the light is computer controlled also. Now, if you're thinking about doing this, I gotta tell you, the cost wise to do a show like this does not cost that much money, but does really help if you know what you're doing. When I started this, I went through a whole bunch of different cameras. I did audio podcasts for Clunk News when I was the editor there for like 3 years. So I was very familiar, and also I'm an audio person at heart. I was a record producer in Los Angeles for years. That's what I've done. I'm an audio guy. I'm not a video guy, but I'm very familiar with the audio. The video, not so much. So when we started this, I went through a bunch of cameras, when we looked at stuff, and of course, we bought one, and it worked pretty well. The camera we've been using up to now for the first 100 shows was working quite well. That was really a problem. What I've learned, I'm telling you this, if you want to do this, what I've learned is that the hardware is pretty much all the same. What really separates from men from the boys is the software that goes along with the hardware. That's the big deal. So I finally figured that out after talking to a few people and running a few tests. So we went with a company. I'm not going to name it, but I'm not going to. But we went with a company that I knew basically makes the best software for their cameras, and that's what we got going on here, and it's working fabulously. I'm really pleased with it. So anyway, I mean, the reason we took 3 days off to install all the shit. Now we've got 5 lights in this little studio, and this is the key light, the light that's shining directly on my face in front of me. That's one that's computer controlled. If this works out well, and I already know it is, we're gonna replace all the rest of them with computer controlled lights too. So, yeah, it's like we got the tech going on here. You know how it is. You know. Okay. So tonight, no guest. So I'm just going to yak and you can call in. So please call in. I encourage you because we do not have a guest tonight. Tomorrow night, we're taking the night off again. Yeah, I know. But I got a doctor's appointment and you're thinking, well, Jim, you're such a pussy. Well, no, I had a heart valve replaced a couple of years ago. And the thing is, it's not that, the appointments in the afternoon, we do the show at 11 o'clock at night. I understand that. But sometimes they give me drugs and sometimes I don't react to them well. And I mean, I will probably be fine, but I don't want to deal with it, and I don't want to schedule anybody either in case I don't want to cancel. So on guests, yeah, I don't mind canceling you. Yeah, so we're just taking the night off. Wednesday, Jeff Meyer, CEO of Kong News, is going to be here. We're going to chew the fat about the news. Thursday, we're doing a show, but I don't have any, and don't have a guest lined up right now. So, matter of fact, for the rest of the month, let me tell you what I got going on here. I'm going to look. This is like Thursday, April 25th. Kathleen Marden is joining us now. She is basically an A-list. Excuse me. Hold on. I got my McDonald's iced tea here. Hold on. Kathleen Marden is basically an A-list guest. She is the niece of Betty Hill. If that means anything to you, that's from Betty and Barney Hill, who claimed they were abducted by aliens in 1961 on a drive home back to their home in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So Kathleen is Betty's niece. Betty's passed now, quite a few years ago. And she was 16 when this happened, and she was so intrigued by what her aunt told her that she's devoted the rest of her life. She studies ufology, excuse me, sorry, professionally for a living. And also, she was a co-writer with her friend Stanton Friedman, who passed away about 6 years ago. And Stanton was, until he passed away, was probably, arguably, the single most respected researcher in the UFO field, and it's partly because he was a working nuclear physicist. I mean, he wasn't just a guy who had a degree. He the entire time he gave lectures, and he made a very substantial living giving lectures on UFOs. But he worked as a nuclear physicist the entire time, so he was a hardcore science guy. And that's one of the reasons I respected him too and started to read him, because he's a guy who would know, and he says. Matter of fact, we'll definitely talk to Kathleen about this too. It's Stan Friedman who said that Betty Hill had the smoking gun of ufology. That's the way he put it, and it's a story about the fact that supposedly when she was leaving the spacecraft, she asked the aliens where they were from, and one of them said, "Come here, I'll show you." And so he showed her a 3-dimensional map, like a holographic map that was floating in space. And he said, this is Earth right here, and we're right here. Okay, fine. Now you may think, big deal. Well, big deal. Well, the thing is, all of Betty's memories were retrieved under hypnosis. And in one of the hypnosis sessions, Benjamin Simon, the psychologist and the hypnotist, who didn't buy any of this, by the way, he was a complete suspect. He couldn't figure out what was going on, because not only were these people telling him these stories, the stories were basically the same, even though he hypnotized them separately. But he asked her to draw the map, and she did. She drew a copy of the map from memory. So that was in 1965. The event happened in 61. In 65, they started going to the psychologist. They were all fucked up. Barney especially, he had a very hard time dealing with this whole thing. It was really, really sent him for a loop. It basically made him dysfunctional. And Betty, not so much, but still, she couldn't figure out what was going on either. So, at any rate, so Simon asked her to draw the map, and she did. And shortly after that, this whole story got leaked to the press, and the Hills did not want this. They weren't looking for publicity. It turns out a secretary in Benjamin Simon's office called the Boston Globe and told them what was going on, and they ran the story without the Hills' permission. So next thing you know, it gets on the AP wire, and the Hills are famous. And then there's a book written, and there's a movie, and all this sort of stuff. That all happened. But the map that Betty drew under hypnosis was included in the book that they did. Now, Kathleen wrote a book about this too, but there was another book written before that. I can't remember what it was. And the map was included in the book. And a woman named Marjorie Fish, who was a high school science teacher and an erstwhile astronomer, she said, well, I'm going to figure out where the hell this is. And it took her 2 years, but she finally did figure out where the map was from, because the thing is, you're looking at a 2-dimensional map that was actually, she saw in a 3-dimensional space. You have to understand that. So, it's like, so you're looking at a 3-dimensional space from one single angle. So the thing is, you not only have to find out where this place is, you have to figure out what angle matches the map she drew, right? And Fish found it. It's a Zeti Reticuli star complex in 37 light years away from Earth. And the interesting thing about that star complex, it's not called a solar system per se, because it has 2 suns that are revolving around each other, and then on top of that, there's planets revolving around both of those suns. Got that? It's really complicated. And supposedly, there's 2 planets in that system that are populated with intelligent life, not just one. So anyway, it's 37 light years away from Earth. But here's the kicker: in 1961 or even in 1965, nobody on planet Earth knew where Zeta Reticuli was or what it was, except this one housewife from New Hampshire, and that's nuts. How do you do that? Now, I can't remember. I think I always get this confused, but I think Zeta Reticuli was discovered in 2006. I think it was. I'm not sure, but it was way later. And Stan Friedman's always said that proves basically that this happened to them, and I agree with that. I think it did too. I think it's proof. Something that occurred to me the other day, and I'm really curious about talking to Kathleen about this. I want to get a couple other people on here who know about this too, talk about this. People, I think we as humans are using the wrong criteria to judge these events, because everybody wants scientific verification. Now, if you know about the scientific method, there's testing, verification, you have to have an external verification. I'm starting to think, no, this should be, it should be a criminal investigation. Not that the aliens are criminal, but the standards for criminal trial should be applied here. And that is, how much proof do you need? Like, for example, there's 2 types of trials in the United States, most other places now too, because their judicial systems are based on ours. One is a criminal trial, one is a civil trial. The criminal trial is charges brought by the state against a person. A civil trial is when one person sues the other, right? All right, now the criminal trial threshold for guilt and evidence has always been very high. It's basically beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, you have to understand this is true about what's going on in politics here too. And I've always said this is the thing that fascinates me about the fact that this UFO stuff actually has so much to do with the current political situation. Okay, so in a criminal trial, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That means, like, for example, if somebody said, I killed him because the voices in my head told me to, well, that's not reasonable doubt. That's unreasonable doubt. You're not, you don't have to or that the aliens came down and told you to or whatever, that's ridiculous, so it's you can't use any ridiculous claims, but beyond that, it has to be solid. In a civil trial, you need what's called a preponderance of evidence. That means if you weigh all the evidence and more of it suggests that what you're saying is true than not, yeah, you're considered you've won your case. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's what the problem here. We're never going to get scientific verification of UFOs or aliens. I mean, even if they landed on the White House lawn and came out and said, "Look, we're here. Hi, how you doing?" That's still not actual scientific verification. It isn't. They want some hardcore evidence, and that exists beyond. There's people who tell you it doesn't. That's bullshit. There's I won't say there's plenty. There's a lot of it, but there's plenty. That's a better way to put it. But I'm starting to think that really it's a preponderance of evidence. How much evidence do you need? I was actually just thinking about this. How much evidence do you need to prove that this is true? You know, I mean, I have a friend of mine. We talk about this all the time. He watches this show religiously, and I thank him for it. But on that hand, he thinks most of the stuff's completely bullshit. He does, and he says, "Well, everybody's lying," and I just don't believe. You have hundreds of thousands of people in the United States who say they've been abducted. At this point, hundreds of thousands. I think the last Gallup poll suggested, and they didn't ask people directly, it was actually they asked them leading questions. Well, they did two different polls, ended up matching. That 2% of the American population has been abducted, and that if you're going to go by that, that's 7 million people. So even if you go under the assumption that 95% of them are lying or crazy or making it up, you still got 300,000 people who say this has happened to them. I mean, it's crazy. I just can't buy the fact that so many people are lying. I can't. I could buy the fact that the vast majority of them are lying. I can buy that, but every single one of them, no. And then you get this story like that Stan Freeman was talking about, the story with Betty Hill. How did she know that? There's literally no way she could have known that on the planet Earth ever. Nobody on Earth knew that information except her. That's crazy. You can't. That's crazy shit. You just can't. Anyway, I've kind of gone off on a tangent here, and I didn't mean to do that. But she's coming on. That's Kathleen Martin. She's coming on Thursday night, April 25th. That's 2 weeks from this Thursday. Yeah, that's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to talking with her. I mean, this woman she's like an A-list guest in this realm. So I've said this, we've done 100 shows. By the way, if you're interested, on our front page at Gemini.com, we now have at the bottom of the front page, we posted a 10-minute highlight reel from our first 100 shows. We did that this weekend too. So it's in a blog post, but it's going to stay in our on the bottom of the front page permanently. And I've said this before. When it comes to guests, we're batting way, way above our pay grade. I mean, it's really nuts the quality of the guests we've had on the show, and I'm very, very happy about that. I think word is getting around that I'm a good interviewer and that it's a positive environment for people to come on, and that's wonderful. I think that's fantastic. So anyway, Jeff Meyer, he's our sponsor, and I'm speaking of that. Yeah, Calling News is the sponsor of the show. And let me show you this. This is the front page of Calling News in real time right now. So Calling News is a news aggregator. They take stories from 75 different news sources. Their servers go out every 3 hours. They find the shit. They bring it back in. They put it in chronological order on the front page, regardless of where it's from. And it's laid out in the fact. So you see these two pictures here. I hope you want to use my cursor, but you can't see my cursor. Okay, so these photos are from those articles, and the headlines are not rewritten. The headlines are from the articles too. You click on the photo or headline, you go directly to that article. There's no interstitial ad, none of that crap. You go directly to it. This is as close as an aggregated newspaper as you can get. It's pure. I mean, seriously, I can't recommend this product enough. I use it. You can spend 2-3 hours just going through it's essentially a one-page website. I mean, they have some other pages there. They do some podcasts and stuff like that, but this is essentially a one-page website. And you can spend 2-3 hours just looking at this page, and then like you come back 4 hours later, most of it's different, and the stuff that isn't different is pushed to the bottom. So once you get down there, you can say, "Well, I've seen this already. I don't have to do it." You can't find a better news source than this. And all the news sources are vetted. They're mostly conservative or else middle of the road. No wacky MSNBC bullshit or CNN crap. None of that bullshit. You seriously check this out. That's conk.com at conk.com. So Jeff Myers is CEO and publisher of Conk News, and he's coming on. He comes on once a month. He's coming on Wednesday. So, okay, so what happened today? Like you need me to tell you. Um, we had an eclipse. Did you notice? Man, I don't know. Okay, something. Okay, I bitch and moan about this all the time, but the thing is, here's the mainstream media, the legacy media, and I'm talking about Fox News here too. When I'm talking about because they are now their mainstream media, even though they're conservative. And a matter of fact, when it was what happened? Let me see. Oh shit! What news story was it? Was it the Israeli war? I can't remember. Where Fox News has now supplanted CNN is the go-to news source in the United States, and it went for breaking news. I mean, for years, people tuned to CNN to see what was going on, and when news broke, they did. And that's bullshit. That's gone. Because now it's Fox News. I mean, Fox News blew them out of the water last month. I can't remember. Am I talking about the Israeli? What am I? I can't remember what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like there was some breaking news thing, and it wasn't even close. Not even. I mean, I've told you this before, and it's hard to emphasize this because people don't believe it. Nobody's watching CNN, and I mean, of course somebody is, but I mean, statistically, their ratings have gone down like 30 months in a row, and they keep on going down. That's the amazing thing. You think that, well, they can't go down anymore. I mean, at this point, they have 500,000 people watching their prime time schedule at night, Monday through Friday. And I've said this, and you have to understand how this works. In the cable news business, or effectively in cable television business, anything under 1 million people is nothing. And they're not even half of 1 million people. It's really disgusting. Terrible for them. I mean, I think it's kinda good because I think they're fucking pricks. And why do I think they're pricks, Jim? Why don't you justify yourself? Well, here's the deal. They lie mercilessly. They keep they're going to bat for the administration, and that's fine, except they won't admit it. See, that's the difference between MSNBC and CNN. MSNBC, they're liberally biased. That's their job. That's what Fox News is conservatively biased. That's what these places do, right? Okay, fine. All right, now I don't watch CNN or MSNBC anymore. We've got to talk to Jeff because Jeff watches Morning Joe. He says completely for the comedic value. And the thing is, if you've ever seen that, you got Mr. and Mrs. Scarborough there. They're sitting there, and this guy is so freaking pussy whipped. It's unbelievable. I mean, this show has changed so much in the last 15 years. Is mind-boggling. Jeff, he doesn't agree with me on this, but 15 years ago, I thought that was actually one of the best talk shows on American TV. I really did. And the thing is, they didn't know each other very well. I'm talking about Mika Brzezinski and Scarborough, right? So they would bicker. I mean, they would argue. She's an ardent liberal. He is supposedly a Republican. He still says he is. That's complete bullshit as far as I can tell. But that's what he claims. And they would actually they would argue on politics, and it was really great. Not only that, and that's the thing. There was some sort of sexual tension that going on there. And I guess at some point, he looked at her and she looked at him and they decided to relieve that. And so what happens then? Their show goes to shit. That's what happens. I call it the Regis Philbin syndrome. Not that Regis ever slept with any of his co-hosts, but the thing is, Like Kathy Lee or Kelly Lee or whatever the fuck her name is, when they had to take the or the day off, the morning off, and they had to bring in a guest host, and they didn't have one. The last resort go to person was um, Regis's wife. Oh God, and what was her name? Oh, I'm not going to forget, am I? Oh shit. Anyway, she was a professional performer. She was it just shows how old these people were, but she was a big band singer. She was a professional singer. And so they would come out together. Now they've been married like 40 years, right? And at this point, not even now, I mean, Regis has been dead like 5 years. So, God, what is her name? It's going to bug the crap out of me. So, they'd come out, and the thing is, there's nothing wrong with her presentation skills. She's perfectly fine. She's a professional performer. She knows what she's doing. But you got these two people sitting next to each other. They've been married for 40 years, and they've got nothing to say because they know everything about each other. They know everything, you know? So it's like, it was really, really boring, Now, and, okay, she's pinch batting, okay, that's fine. But still, I mean, my point is you want a little bit of that sexual tension, or not even sexual tension. You want a little bit about that unknowingness so you can talk to the person. You don't want to be too familiar with them. So at some point, Joe decided to stop Mika, and their show completely went to shit. So now Jeff tells me he watches it just to watch them because he says it's so damn funny. I have tried this. I can't do it anymore. I mean, Scarborough sold his soul, but the thing is, but I do have to mention this, and I've mentioned this before, and I'm starting to think this is kind of an important thing to me. I don't understand how people can do that. I mean, he has either lost his mind or he's lying through his teeth, and I strongly suspect it's the latter. I don't think he's that stupid. I don't think he's that crazy. I think that he's just decided he's going along with the program, and the program is he's on a liberal network, and so because of that, Donald Trump was evil. Now, uh, I can't. I could, my for years I wondered how could people do that? How do they get on television and just blatantly lie like that? But I'm starting to think that there's an exception, although I don't think it applies to them. I'll get to that in a second. If your primary job as a human, your primary responsibility is to your family. It's not to the American public. It's not to the broadcasting industry. It's to your family. So I use this example because it's prescient. Nicole Wallace does a daily show on MSNBC. She just had a baby. I think it's her third kid. I think all her kids are relatively young. I think they're still in school. And from what I understand, they're paying her about $2 million a year. And I've got this. This is third-hand knowledge, but the thing is, so it might not be true. But I'm going to bring this up just in regard to this discussion. I've been told by people who know her that she doesn't believe a single thing she says on television. I mean, you have to understand she was George W. Bush's press secretary. I mean, that's going back like 20 years, but still, that's what she did. She still claims to be a Republican, even though she's on there bashing Donald Trump every goddamn day, you know. And so I've been told that she does not believe anything she talks about on the air. But if they're paying you $2 million a year for a really, really cushy job, um, I can't blame her for doing it. I mean, your responsibilities to your children. And so if they're gonna, if you're gonna be able to comfortably put your kids through school by doing this job and lying through your teeth, I'm starting to think that, I don't know if I can blame people for this. Now, I never had children. I never did. And the thing about the Scarboroughs, the reason I bring that up is so I'm right. They were both married to other people. That was when they started stumping each other, and they both got divorces. And I think between the three of them, they have 6 kids. But if I'm right, all those kids are adults. They've all grown up, and quote unquote moved away. So then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I just say. I mean, you have to understand. I'm not. From what I know about the business, I'm guessing that the two of them together are probably taking home $10 million a year. That's a lot of fucking money, you know. after taxes, you're talking about a half a million. You're clearing a half a million dollars a month. I mean, it's a lot of freaking money, you know? And so that's and why do people, and so, he can laugh at me. What am I getting paid squat for doing this? And the other thing is like talking about Nicole Wallace, when I said a cushy job, I mean, and I'm not making a judgment about myself or her here at all. I mean, her job's easier than what I'm doing here because she has a staff. I don't have any support so far right now at all. I mean, I do want to really hire a couple people, but right now I do all of this myself. That's actually one of the reasons I take so many days off. I had so much other work to do for the show. So, so in that sense, I mean, it's like, it's a it's a pretty cushy gig. I mean, I have no idea how many people actually work on Morning Joe. I'm guessing they probably have a staff of a couple dozen. That's my guess. You know, so yeah, and it's basically they're reading off a teleprompter. You know, so now we do this show the way, and a lot of people who do this type of program, and it doesn't, people call this a podcast, but it's not really a podcast. First of all, we do it live, and podcasts aren't done live. Secondly, it's just primarily a video program. It's not primarily audio. Podcasts have always been mostly audio. Even Joe Rogan started as an audio, and then the Adam Carolla too. This started as a video show, and I addressed the camera, and in my mind, this is a TV show, not a. We have a. It's a TV show, and we supply an audio feed about Blog Talk Radio. It's not the opposite. There mostly people do this. They do an audio feed, and then they supply the video to send to another outlet. This is kind of reverse. So I don't even know what you call this, but most of the people who do this. Once again, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Most of the people who do this basically do it as radio, as you would a radio show. In other words, this is not scripted. God knows you can tell. It's not scripted. I work off an outline. Although I have to tell you, and I was thinking about this today. I am thinking about getting a teleprompter just to put the outline up. Right now, I got the outline in a separate window on one of my computer screens, and I keep switching back and forth. I'm wondering maybe I should use a teleprompter. I don't know, whatever. But the thing is, I'm never going to read anything. That's for damn sure. It's just to make me kind of give me an idea what to talk about next. I do plan this out, kind of, sort of. So my point is, it's run mostly the way people run radio shows. Most radio shows, you can name anybody, Rush Limbaugh, Bob Downs, Hannity, anyone you listen to, Dana Lash. I'm particularly fond of her. I think she's fantastic. Um, you basically do this off the top of your head. Television television hasn't gotten there yet. I think it's going to eventually. I think you will start to see networks of which is basically shows like this, where they're basically radio shows on TV. Basically, I don't know how else to put that. But right now, that's kind of verboten. Well, and the other thing is, I mean, you look at the amount of people watching Fox News, and they get hell in the middle of the day when nothing's going on. There's 1.5 million people tuned in, so they don't wanna fuck around. There's a reason I'm doing this tonight, folks. I don't know if you notice this, because I'm fucking around. That's what I'm doing. So, yeah, why did I bring that up? Oh, I was talking about the eclipse. So the thing is, here's yeah, this is the most roundabout thing ever. But the reason I'm pissed off about this is that it's not that I don't think these cable news networks shouldn't be covering the eclipse. The thing is, there's anything in American life. So the thing, my point is, I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but do you have to do it for hours and hours on nonstop on end? Do you have to? Especially because it's kind of it's mildly entertaining, but it really doesn't have any effect on people's lives. And I know people, who down in Texas and they went to Vermont and they went to Indianapolis and they're saying it was a life-changing experience. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Blah, 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 blah. I have friends who did this. I got 6 school friends who got on a plane and flew down to Dallas to see this. Now, okay, what do they all have in common? I'll tell you what they all have in common. 2 things. You know, they're retired, so they have the time and they have the money. That's that's what they got, so they can do it. Okay, fine. I'm glad it changed your life. That's terrific, and I'm not trying to make fun of this either. I'm not. But the thing is, you watching at home, watching this, watching, Martha McCallum on the afternoon on what, Fox News or whoever's doing the afternoon shift on Newsmax, it doesn't really matter to your life very much. So, the thing is, you're talking about, well, what are we doing? Are we entertaining people? And that's not a bad thing. The entertaining people is not bad either. But the thing is, well, every single thing that we seems to happen on television, and by extension, I'm going to say in American life, it seems to be either all or nothing. We're either going to broadcast the eclipse for 5 hours, or else we're not going to broadcast it at all. Well, fuck that. That's bullshit. Why don't you just show me the half an hour of it's directly overhead? How about that? And then we can go on to other things. It's like, no, but no, that's like, well, first of all, it's easy programming. That's the thing. You wondered why the nation was captivated by the O.J. Simpson trial? Because for 3 freaking months, CNN had completely free programming. I think from what I understand, some court jurisdictions have changed this now. But in 1992, all the video feed out of every courtroom in America was free for public use. So, yeah, they just put it on television. Look at that, and people are watching. Millions of people watch, and we didn't have to pay for anything to say, oh, And the same thing, the moon is blocking out the sun. We don't have to pay for that. Send out a camera crew. That's cheap. So and also this kind of I got a little bit of a theme here going here. If you just indulge with me for a second, David Strom, our friend that comes on this program regularly, he's the associate editor of Hot Air. He wrote an article on Hot Air today about the fact that in Britain somebody's putting on a play based on this is really weird, on transgender people in the Caribbean. No shit. It's like it's a political play, but the thing is, they had a trigger warning for the audience beforehand to tell them that people were going to be eating oranges on stage, because apparently people are triggered by the sound of people eating in public. And I didn't know this, and David didn't either. And it's like, and so yeah, everyone in the world, we're all pussies now. We can't deal with the sound of people eating. They had a trigger warning. Yeah, and they're serious. They're totally serious about this. It's called. I actually wrote it down. It's called misophonia, and that is sounds that really, really bug the crap out of you. Okay, very good, very good. So yeah, we're all social justice warriors that don't have a spine to save our lives. And also another thing that happened, you probably saw this last week when had the time off. So these kids at Vanderbilt University had this protest. Um, they did a protest, a pro-Palestine protest on campus that got shut down by the campus police, and they cried victimhood. They said that they were victimized and they gave a press conference talking about how terrible the campus is and all this sort of stuff. And everybody, and Gutfeld did a story on this, making fun of these kids. I mean, they were really pathetic, really pathetic. Well, guess what? Most of them, not all of them, but most of them got expelled. And that's not a bad thing, I don't think. I know it. But here's my point. This is the reason I'm bringing all this stuff up. What does all this stuff have in common? I'm even going back to my retired friends who went to see the eclipse. And like I said, I'm not per se getting in anybody trouble about that. I'm trying to tie a whole bunch of stuff together. What does all this stuff have in common? You have we have a society that's become too rich. Now, I know that's the thing. I know not everybody in America has a lot of money. I know that. But the thing is, first of all, you have to understand, even the poor in the United States live way better than the poor in any other place on the planet. I mean, right now, if you file bankruptcy, you get to keep your flat screen television, because that's considered a necessity. And first of all, you can buy one for $250. I mean, don't even get me started on how cheap televisions have gotten. I still remember bringing on my apartment over here in Northeast Minneapolis up to the fourth floor, and we have 12-foot ceilings. It was a converted warehouse. Up 50 stairs, bringing up this giant cathode ray television. I still remember this. It was huge, and not only that, it probably weighed a good 80, 100 pounds. I carried it myself. I was young and buff. But I still remember that. Now that television, and this is like in the early '90s. That was 30 years ago. That television, at that time, probably cost us $600 to $800. It'd probably be about $2,000 now. And now you can buy an 85. If you look around, you can buy an 85-inch 4K smart TV for under $500. That's not the normal price, but you'll find that. If you look around enough, you'll find it. It's crazy. It's nuts. You know. So we have. And my point is, especially when it comes to the young people, those kids at Vanderbilt, we have raised now people who have no conception of even the loss of luxury. They can't even imagine not living like this. And where, in the United States, like I said, our poor live better than anywhere else. But you go travel around the rest of the world, and I have, people are really, really fucking poor. I mean, they are. They don't have shit. And so you got these kids, and they're entitled little fucking snot bastards. They are, who are they're going out into the world, and they're decided they're going to change the world. They're social justice warriors. They don't have a clue what the hell they're talking about. So I can't remember who wrote this article, and if I'm right, I saw it on the Fox News website about the guy. There's this former Palestinian Hamas fighter who's basically defected out of Hamas and came to the United States, and he's making fun of all these college kids. He's saying, you don't have a clue what you're doing. That if you went to Gaza, they would kill you. And of course, the funniest single thing about this whole thing, the funniest single thing is Queers for Palestine. That's like an oxymoron. Yeah, because if you're queer and in Palestine, they will throw you off a roof and kill you, and they will. And they'll laugh while they're doing it. That's the real amazing thing. Yeah, Queers for Palestine. Yeah, you tell me about that. That's good. That's great. That's a great idea. And this guy was basically saying the same thing. He said that the people in Hamas regard the American students and basically anybody around the world who's basically, uh, you know, uh, demonstrating for them as useful idiots. And they are. That's what they are. There's no bounds to how stupid these kids are. And the amazing thing is, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm brilliant. When I look back, I'm 68. I look back, so I'm going to have my 50th class reunion in high school this year. I look back to when I was a kid. Oh my God, we did some stupid shit. I was dumb. Everyone was dumb. We were all dumb. The problem is that was true for generation after generation, and now we have a generation of kids that are ungodly dumb. In other words, they've gone down a step. They're way more stupid than we were. And why? Because they've been coddled all their lives, and not only even deliberately. Most of them grew up in two-car families. I tell people that when I was growing up, we only had one single car, and people look at me like I was crazy. That's like, every now in almost all families, at least every adult has a car, not the kids, at least everyone. Now, cars are pretty cheap now too. Excuse me. But I think you understand what my point is. We got a call here. I'm going to take this. Hi, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, this is Think.
Oh, hey, Think. How
I
you
wanted to
doing?
join you. Great, great. I wanted to jump in on this because this is something that's pretty interesting. So here in America, I think it's a lot of people don't know how lucky they are to be in this country.
Thank you.
No matter what, no matter what class you're in terms of economic class.
Yes.
Here's a prime example. You literally can drink from your toilet here.
Yeah, yes.
Flush your toilet. That water,
That's
that water
right.
that you just after you could drink from that. There are countries out there where they cook and use the water from these ponds that they poop in,
Oh my
and
God.
they're using that water to wash their clothes and drink their water from, and then they use it to cook from. That's that's terrible water, but that's the society outside this country, and a lot
Yes.
of people don't realize how lucky they are to
I'm
be
so
here.
glad you brought
And
that up. That is such a great example. Thank you so much. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
yeah, yeah, and then you have the welfare system here in America. I mean, even if you cannot get the money that the welfare system gives you, you could just go into like one of those welfare clinics, and right away they'll give you food stamps.
Yeah.
Right away,
Yeah.
without questioning.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, this a lot of people in this country are lucky, but then it gets me when why people say that this country is not so great, that they rather be somewhere else, like they would rather go back to Africa and stuff like that. And out of all the videos that I've seen, Africa is one of the worst places to be at this time and age. I
Yes.
mean, it's full of corrupt people over there,
Yes.
and there's no system of government. There's really no system of government over there. Um, I don't know if you're going to agree with me when I say this, but I feel that when people say America is great because it's a free country, they are wrong. America is not a free country. And the thing is, you don't want it to be a free country. There are places in Africa and in Australia, South America, where you could take a gun and kill somebody and say, hey, I did it. And nothing will happen to these people. Why? Because there's no system of government. That's sovereignty right there. You could burn your neighbor's house down. You could do whatever you want. There's no system of government. That's pure freedom. People die and kill to come to this country here in America, not because of the freedom, but something even better. And that's the system of justice here in America. We cannot kill each other because that's not just. And underneath the justice system here, the Constitution, there's something that's the foundation of this country, and that's the Bible itself. You cannot kill because the Bible basically says, "Thou shalt not kill." There's adultery in there. There's lying. There's thievery. That's the system here. The Bible itself. That's the system of justice here, not freedom. When people say you come here and then you could do whatever you want because it's free. No, it's not. For example, driving a car. Just to drive a car, you have to take a test. You have to register the car, insurance. You know all the things I'm going to say, right?
Yeah.
You have to have an inspection. Nothing is basically free here. You can't start a fire unless it's an area that's designated for it. Does that make sense? You can't just go to your neighbor's
No, I
house
know
and
exactly
start
what
a
you're talking
fire
about.
on their lawn.
And also, I don't
Yeah,
disagree. You're absolutely right. The other thing is the extension of what you're talking about. Talking about Africa, and now this is apocryphal. Nobody really knows if this actually happened, unfortunately. But there's this rumor that during some meeting, Donald Trump was talking about shithole countries. And I've always said he wasn't talking about the people of those countries. He was talking about the governments. Half of the governments in America on the planet are completely corrupt, and because of that, they have no economic system to speak of. So there's no way you can get ahead in any of those places. And you're absolutely right. We don't have freedom so much as we have a framework, a system that keeps the whole thing kind of open and allows people to interact with it. So I totally agree with you. I actually do.
that's right. That's right. I've seen videos where there's villages where a woman slept with another man, and so the village didn't like it, so they took the woman out and they stoned her. And I
Yeah.
didn't know that you could stone. So you know the videos I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, they stoned her. Yeah, and then eventually one of the stones knocks her out, and then they start pouring gasoline on her, and they lit her on fire.
Yeah.
And I just can't believe that's the system of justice that these villages have. And there's no government saying, "Hey, what you did is wrong." There's no police officers coming in. That's how it is over there. That's pure sovereignty.
Right.
It's just the system over there, and I think that's corrupt as hell.
Well, hold it. Let me
Well, I
ask you
don't know if
something.
that's corrupt.
Do you think that's starting to happen here I mean, a lot of major cities, there's a lot of shit you can do, and even though you get arrested, you're basically out in the street in 5 hours, you know? Do you think that we're starting to have a problem?
I that's a good question. I think that's an extremely good question. I I kind of think that this country is allowing a lot of that stuff to happen. You're basically talking about what happened in Portland, right, or
Oh,
Seattle,
yeah, right,
where they
or
just
New
took
York
over.
City too, right, yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh,
yeah. So, and this was during Trump. Now, I have a theory because I've never seen, and I agree with a lot of people, and I think you want to say this. I heard you. I was listening to you from the beginning, and I know that you want to say this. I think that there is a corruption that goes extremely deep within this country. That when Trump became president, he shook it up. And people were just like, what the hell just happened? We cannot allow this stuff to happen. We have to do everything we can to get this guy out. And like you said, Facebook started censoring people, YouTube started censoring people, and Google started censoring the
yeah,
searches that you would type in. I've just never seen anything like that happen, and it happened when Trump became president.
yeah,
He did something.
right,
He basically showed the country, hey, there is a corruption here. This is real. It's not just Alex Jones saying it. There is corruption. And the corrupt mafia group started getting pissed. And it's not just within this country, it's outside this country as well. Like you had people like Trudeau, I forgot the French presidents and all these other countries. And then they just basically got together. So I don't even know if the coronavirus thing is a real threat. That's my assessment because I've seen so much corruption happen that I kind of not even I'm not even sure if that was a real thing.
yeah,
You know what I mean in terms
I
of
do, I do,
danger.
I
Yeah,
do
I
know,
think that
yeah.
they did this.
I have
Yeah,
gotten to
I
the
truly think that. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
think I've gotten to the point where I don't really trust anything the government puts out. Let me give you an example here. The labor statistic numbers came out on Friday. You know, supposedly the economy added 303,000 jobs. Well, it turns out that although that number is technically correct, the vast majority of those jobs went to either federal employees or illegal immigrants. So the number of like American citizens who actually got jobs actually fell. But it's the technically correct number. But the thing is, it's still a lie. They didn't supply any context. You know, still
Yeah.
there?
I still don't. Yeah, yeah. I don't understand why they did that. Is it like it was too late and they just kept going with it? But when Trump was president, they had to prove that he was a racist,
Yeah,
right? They had to say that he was a racist, and the only thing that they could do to prove it, I think this is in my opinion, is to show that hey, he doesn't want Mexican people to come here in this country. He hates Mexican people, and it didn't help when Trump started saying stuff like, which is true by the way, the majority of the illegals that come here are violent people, and
yeah,
that's true. There are a lot of criminals, and we see it now after they're legally allowed to come over here, right?
right.
They're illegally allowed. Yeah. We see the corruption. I mean, the guy shooting people in New York City and stealing phones and all this stuff and stuff like that. I think that they had to prove that Trump was a racist, so they used that as a pointer, to say, hey, Trump is racist. He doesn't like Mexicans. Now that Joe Biden is president, they couldn't turn their back on that. They couldn't continue building the wall, so they figured we're too late. We'll just let them in. I saw this happen as soon as Biden became. I'm in upstate New York. As soon as Biden became president, I saw Greyhound buses. I've never seen Greyhound buses full of Mexican people. In fact, I rarely ever see Mexican people up here in upstate New York. I see Hispanic people. We have a huge Hispanic population, but Mexicans are a little bit different. There's a different look. I was in Texas, so I know. I lived in Texas like 2 or 3 years, so I know what a Mexican person looks
Well,
like.
let me
So
ask you,
when
the non-Mexican Hispanic people that are in your area, do you think most of them are legal?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do.
right.
Yeah,
That's what I thought you'd say. Right. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is,
yeah,
the Hispanics right now, and this is, not a lot of people are covering this. They're pissed as hell, and I mean, most of the legal immigrants that I know are mad as fuck about this, about the fact they're letting these people in. And the Hispanic population is generally very hardworking and very entrepreneurial. They go, they pull themselves up, and I think I I'm starting to think that this coming fall, that unless there's some black swan event that happens, that the Democrats are going to be really, really shocked by how bad their defeat is going to be. It's like the people are really, really quietly pissed off. That's what I'm starting to think. What about you?
yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm starting to see a lot of people turn. Like you had Dwayne Johnson
Yeah,
saying that he doesn't support Joe Biden. I think there's a bunch of other people that are saying that. A bunch of other people in terms of stars, rock stars and
yeah.
actors. And honestly, I don't know why people listen to these people.
I
Like,
don't
why
either.
are we taking the rock?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, well, why are you gonna take? There was Jay Z. I don't know if you know who Jay Z.
Of course I do.
Like
Yeah,
Jay Z
yeah.
rappers.
I
Yeah,
do.
yeah. I don't. Why would you take their advice? But it's their advice is starting to change.
Yeah,
They're starting to say, hey, they don't agree with Joe Biden. And I think you're right with that. That there is a change. But what I saw during the last election was some stuff that I questioned. The corrupt. I don't know if it, I mean, there were more ballots that were being mailed, and than actual people going there to vote,
oh
and
yeah.
the whole voting system.
I know.
Yeah, and I don't trust the voting system itself right now. Um, I think you know what cryptocurrencies is, right?
Yeah, of course I
Right?
do.
You know
Yeah,
what crypto? Yeah, yeah. The foundation of the cryptocurrency is the blockchain.
yeah.
And what the blockchain basically produces a number that cannot be reproduced.
Right.
I don't really know the full ins and out. I know
Yeah,
that it's something where it's saved on a ledger. I
yeah.
think that should be used for the election system. I
God,
think they should use a form of yeah,
that's
they
a
should use this
that's
blockchain.
a brilliant idea. That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
that,
Holy shit.
yeah. It should.
You're
Yeah, they should be done. Uh, the There's a cryptocurrency called V Chain, and they're using that chain right now to identify authenticity, like Nike shoes or Adidas. You
uh-huh.
basically take a scanner up to the QR code that's on the price tag, and you'll scan it, and it'll tell you if it's authentic or not. If this is a real pair of shoes, or not just that, wild caught fish. They used it to identify the doctors that were getting the vaccines before.
Uh-huh.
If you got a vaccine, they would enter in that information in the VChain blockchain, and to indicate which doctor really got the shots or not. And so my point is they should use that technology for this election thing. And
Yeah.
I say we get rid of the ballots. I say we get complete because it's just people counting. I'm sorry. I just don't trust people like that because they're so easily manipulated,
Well, yeah.
right?
But
So
the other thing is
yeah,
you have a really if you use the blockchain, yeah, you could basically circumvent, or I mean, not hackers. I mean, the government. That would be all the security you would need because you basically couldn't replicate a vote.
that's right. That's
Hey,
exactly right.
may I ask?
And a lot of people,
May I ask how old are you?
I'm in my 50s.
Oh, you are. Okay. I kind of thought you were younger. Do you own cryptocurrency yourself?
Yeah, yeah. If you don't, yeah, I have. I was on a show a long time ago, and this host, this was in 2015, maybe 16, and the guest on the show was talking about Bitcoin, and I loved it right away. This was, I think, I don't know if PayPal was around yet. Yeah, it was just an incredible concept where we could send money through the internet,
Yeah.
and I like what. Yeah, I thought it was incredible, and then I got into it, and I mean, watching the cryptocurrencies use that technology to what it is now, I think it's
Are
incredible. Yeah.
do you
So
mind if I
I
do,
support a lot of.
do you mind if I ask bluntly, and nobody knows your, you don't have your picture here or anything like that? Did you become
Sure.
wealthy because of this?
I got a good chunk of money.
Good.
But the problem with me, yeah, the problem with me was, so in 2017 was when the first uh, explosion basically happened,
Yeah.
big enough for mainstream to know. So way before, bitcoins went from basically zero, like 1 penny to $1. That's a big deal, but it was more for like people that were just playing video games or just like
Right.
internet savvy
Yeah.
people. But when it went from $1 to $100, I think it started to catch the eye of mainstream. But in 2017 was when bitcoins went from $300 to I think it was like $10,000.
Uh-huh.
That's a huge jump right there.
Yes, it
That's a
is.
huge jump.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, bitcoins is about $70,000 right now.
Right. I know.
So yeah, but to me, it's not about the money. I'm I made a good chunk of money, not a lot. I kept trading. I shouldn't have listened to older folks when I was younger. That's the honest truth. I
You
should have
you
trusted my. Hmm?
you shouldn't have, you said?
I should have. I shouldn't have trusted older people. Well, when I decided to trade bitcoins, because at the time, this is 2016, 15. Everyone's telling me it's a scam. I told my dad, he's like, "Oh, you're gonna get robbed. There's no way people, they're gonna make money. What can you do with it? Or can you buy coffee? Can you buy a hamburger? It's nothing. You're getting scammed." And I kept listening to a bunch of older people saying this. So at the time, I was thinking, yeah, maybe it is. So when bitcoins went from I invested bitcoins when it was $700,
All
and then it
right.
dropped down to 300. When it dropped down to 300, I felt like, oh, okay, all these old people were right. But deep down inside, I was it was too late. So I kept investing still. And when it went to $1,000, I sold. I sold all of it out. This is when Coinbase finally came on the scene, and where I could sell. I didn't
Yeah.
have to go. I didn't have to ask. Before Coinbase, there was this thing called. It was like a Craigslist. I forgot the
Right.
name of it.
Right.
It was like a
No, I know what
Craigslist
you're
where
talking
you.
about though.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it either.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I have to tell you,
That's
I was one of those old people who thought this was bullshit. I mean, and the thing is, I have
yeah.
basically, if you, I don't know if you've listened to the show, well, we've only been doing this for like 6, 8 months. I am finally coming around to admitting the fact that I was wrong. I mean, I still have to tell you that on the surface, Bitcoin makes no sense to me at all. It doesn't. But it's obvious now at this point that it's not going to go away. And the thing is, what a friend of mine in finance said, and he's the same age I am, and he said this too. He said, "No, it's just a place to put your money." And okay, because the thing is, here's my thing about this, and I'm sure, I mean, I think these are indisputed facts. It's neither a currency nor commodity. It's not a currency because there's a finite amount of it, and that's gonna and there it will end up being mined now way sooner than they thought. So when that's done, it's done. Basically. Now I don't know what happens to the market at that point, but yeah, there will be a finite amount of Bitcoin that will be traded. It's not a commodity because it doesn't actually do anything like gold. You can't use it for any practical purposes. But I'm starting to think, like my friend was saying, it's just a place to park your cash. And in that sense, I guess it's great, you know?
Yeah. You're right, but I guess in 2015, a lot of old people. I'm sorry if I'm calling these people old people. I don't know what else
No,
to say it.
I'm an
People
old
that are
person.
not
Go ahead.
either in. Yeah, at that time, like I didn't go to Blockbuster anymore. Everything I wanted, like music or anything, I just got it off the computer. I
Right.
bought things online. I don't think Amazon was up. Like Amazon was still selling books. They didn't
Yeah.
have the like the trucks that they do now, where you can
Right.
buy something and get it in 2 or
Right.
3 days.
Yeah.
But I kind of knew that that was coming. I kind of suspected that that was coming. I'm seeing the porn industry. Okay, let me explain. the if you ask anybody in 2000, maybe even 1999 to 2010, what industry was making the most money, they
Oh,
would have told you the porn
yeah.
industry.
Now hold it. Just saying. Think I
Yeah,
gotta stop you. I've been working on the internet as a programmer since the early 1990s. So I know that the porn industry, and actually I would say it still does, when it comes to e-commerce systems, it still leads the way on everybody. It does. You're totally right about
yeah,
this. I mean, yeah, it was the porn industry
that's
that
right.
figured this shit out.
That's right. It was the porn industry that figured this out because they figured out the e-commerce part of it,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah, they figured out how to do the actual transactions online. And I'm surprised people trusted that.
Yeah,
Most
I am
people
too.
did. I guess
Yeah.
yeah, people trusted it. And basically, I would say eBay, Amazon, all the big sites that we use, that we buy things off of now, Walmart, whatever, is using that technology that the porn industry revolutionized.
And the other thing
But
is too,
still,
this is somewhat techy, and I don't know if everybody watching will understand. There was no SSL encryption till like 2010. So not only were you sending your credit card information over the internet, you were sending it for the longest time. You were sending it unencrypted, so anybody could hack into a connection anywhere and fucking get your credit card number. But most of the hackers at that point didn't know how to do that either. So it was just like it did work out.
yeah. And I'll tell you, I remember when I had to buy some sort of device on eBay, and it was none of the stores around me had it, and somebody said, you might get it on eBay. So I went on eBay, looked at the site, I found the you literally could find anything on eBay, and I found the part. It was a computer part, and I purchased it. And this is how I purchased this the part way back in the days on eBay. I would put in the order online and I would have to send eBay a money order,
No shit,
right?
really?
And then after, yeah, yeah, that's how it worked. So you sent eBay a money order. Once they received the money order and approved it, then I guess eBay would tell the seller that, hey, we got the money order, we're gonna send it to you, and then they would ship it to me.
Oh my
This whole
god.
process took like yeah, and I think you're saying, oh my God, because it took 2 months.
Yeah.
It took 2 months for the whole process to go through. So, I mean, to go back to cryptocurrencies, for sending money through like bitcoins, which is an old technology now. All right,
Yeah.
there's a lot of cryptos that are quicker, but even bitcoins. I mean, it could take 15 minutes to a day to send it.
Yeah.
To send the money,
Right.
and that's really really good, I would think. But what makes cryptocurrencies, like, even I'm going to talk about bitcoins because a lot of people knows that.
No, I think that's great that you
What
go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so see, I'm a contractor now, and
Uh-huh.
for my clients to pay me, I give them my ACH info, which is my accounting number and my routing number,
Right.
right?
Right.
Once they get that, they can send me money, but at the same time, they could charge me and withdraw money. I'm basically giving them my banking info. They could do this at any time they want. I don't have to send them a bill. I don't have to do anything. It's just honorably. The honor code here is that when they receive a bill, then they'll take uh, the info that I gave them, the ACH number, and then they'll withdraw it. But in all honesty, they could do that. They can just withdraw at any time. And it's the same thing when you go online and you purchase something and you give someone your credit card, your debit info, they save all that and they could withdraw anytime they want. And that's why a lot of people, I don't know if you've been hacked yet, your bank account, but there's a lot of people that's been hacked because of this. By going online and giving your info, your credit card info or your debit card info to these websites, they remember that, and then later they'll use that to charge you later if it's a fraudulent site.
Yeah.
And I guess I just been to so many fraudulent sites that I've been hacked 3 times within the last 10 years. Now, with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, you don't do that. So what you could do is with bitcoins is if someone's going to send you money, you give them what's called a public wallet address. And I can post my public wallet address on Facebook, on any social media. I can put it in the comments of YouTube and let everybody know. The only thing that they could do with that public ID address is send me money.
Right.
That's all they can do. They can't withdraw. And if someone wants to receive money from me, they'll have to give me their public wallet address, and that's how we send money back and forth. And
Right.
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no hacking, or there's no fraudulent transactions other than people sending me extra money, which I think I'll be okay with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So cryptocurrencies, the system of cryptocurrencies is better than the current banking system or the current e-commerce system that we have, at least online, that we have right now.
I gotta thank
Mhm.
you. I gotta thank you here because you did a really good job explaining why not so much that it works what you did, but why it works so well. And I gotta admit, I never thought of that. I mean, even though I knew all the shit you just said, I never put it together about the fact that, and you're right, it is more secure than the traditional banking system. And I never thought of that. And I suppose that's the reason I'm an old fart and thought it was it was bullshit. You have enlightened my world here. I want to and I hope people listening to this, I hope they understand what you're saying. Now, the blockchain is, you're right, as a concept, it's pretty hard to explain, but the general way it works is the way you described, and that is everything gets a unique number and then those numbers can't be duplicated. So because of that, every transaction is unique and it can't be duplicated. Just like you were saying. So it's very. I mean, I know from what I understand, and I'm a programmer, but this is beyond me. From what I understand, it is possible to hack the blockchain, but you really, really have to know what you're doing. Is that true, or do you know?
Um, the According to some of these I don't know, like technologists, I don't know what you call these people, financial technologists, they say that it might be possible to hack the blockchain, but you would have to do it through a quantum computer, and that's
Yeah.
like a high end, like super
Right.
smart, which is coming.
Right. Yes, it
But
is.
here's the
That's right.
thing though.
I talk about that
Yeah,
regularly.
and
It
it
is
is
coming.
coming.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
So
make sense.
here's the thing. Yep. But here's the thing though. If a quantum computer is coming out to hack the blockchain, according to the financial technologist or engineer, he said that you could also use that same technology to block it. So you would use two quantum computers to block one another. Well, to attack one another. So there's an evil quantum computer trying to hack the blockchain, while there's a good quantum computer blocking it by doing what the blockchain does now, which is constantly changing the code or the
Yeah.
algorithm to
Yeah.
block.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's what I forgot what the term they're planning. So right now there's thousands of cryptocurrencies. I think somewhere in the range of 20 to 100,000 different cryptocurrency projects, and you have to be careful on which ones that you invest in,
Yeah.
because the majority of them are.
I don't know if you know this, but it's actually fairly easy to start one. You don't really,
Yeah, that's
the programs to do it are relatively standardized. You can buy them, and you put up a server, and the next thing you know, you're in business. It's not that hard.
That's right. And the code for the blockchain is open source.
Right. That's
So
right.
it's not like it's hidden.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like it's hidden. And the info to create a blockchain is very simple. So you should be careful for which companies you invest in. But there are a lot of companies out there that are taking this really serious. And they're planning years in advance for these quantum computers to come. One of the main companies that I want to endorse right now is a company called Ripple or XRP. They're they have something like a bitcoins, except their system is not for commercial use, or is it for
Or
commercial?
you mean public
Are we
use?
considered commercial?
Do you
Yeah,
mean
public use.
yeah, public
Their
use?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Their system is not for public use. Their system is for banking uses, for the bank. to use. So for the banks to send money from one bank to another bank to a, from it like a spider web of banks sending money to each other. And according to Ripple, they're saying that that's much quicker if they were to use cryptocurrencies to send money from one bank to another. It'll be quicker than the system that they have right now.
Huh.
Because for one bank to send money to another bank right now, it could take like 2 or 3 days to a week to actually send the money. And the transactions are done basically through people overlooking these transactions. So it's not fully automated, and a
Uh-huh.
lot of the transactions can be wrong. A lot of it could be wrong, and it is wrong. So to have a system in place like an automated system, and this is kind of AI, okay? So an automated system in place, like Ripple's technology using the XRP cryptocurrency, that it will be instant. Just to let you know, real quick, XRP or Bitcoins to send from one Bitcoin account to another can take 15 minutes, like to a day, like I said. But
Right.
on average, it's going to take about 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the transaction fee, there is a transaction fee from to transfer. I think it's like $50 on Bitcoin. No matter how much you send, it's $50. But on XRP, it's in a matter of 5 to 10 seconds to send
Huh.
XRP from one account, one wallet to another is like 5 to 10 seconds or 2 seconds or something like that. I've seen it damn near instantly like that, like 2 to 5 seconds. And the fee for it is less than 1 penny. So I could send $1 million, which sometimes I send a lot of money from one wallet to another, and it only charges me like maybe half an XRP. One XRP right now is about 62 cents, but back in the days it was way less than that. It's uh it's about maybe a tenth of a penny to send as much, like a lot of money, a
Think
million dollars.
if people want to
They
learn about this, are they at xrp.com, or where are they? Do they have a website, or how do people learn about this?
You definitely have to be careful learning about this. There's a lot of AI generated stuff right now, and they're using like have you seen the videos of like Joe Rogan talking, saying, "Hey, this happened, that happened," and it's really not Joe Rogan.
Oh,
It's
the deep fake
AI.
ones? Yeah. I haven't seen the
Yeah,
Joe
yeah,
Rogan's one, but I've seen them. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're very, at this point,
yeah,
they're getting very hard it's hard to spot the fakes. It is. For a while, it was easier, but
yeah. Yeah, but definitely be careful. I wouldn't say buy it right away, but let me give you a website. I would think it's ripple.com, but yeah, it's ripple.com. If you want to know about XRP, it's Ripple, RIPPLE.
got it. Thank you.
So if yeah, yeah, you could and then like YouTube it. There's so many they call it the XRP army. There's this huge group of people. And it's the same thing when Bitcoins first got started. There was a huge group of people that just trusted the technology and then believed in it. And
Yeah.
I saw that same vibe with the Macintosh, with Apple. When
Right.
IBM was destroying everybody in Apple, there was still a group of people that believed in Apple, and it's the same vibe. So from Apple to Bitcoins and now to XRP. I
Interesting.
truly believe that XRP is going to be something really big in the future. And like I said, it's basically because you send money so fast and so cheap.
Well, you're
And then
obviously
you
not
send them
that
money.
young. If you can remember the beginning of the Macintosh, you're obviously not that young. So, I mean, that
No,
was 40
I'm
years
not.
ago.
I'm in my
Yeah.
What?
Hey.
I'm talking about when when Steve Jobs basically just started coming back.
Oh,
So the
okay.
G3 was basically invented.
Right.
With just do you know the G3?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the time period I jumped on
Yeah.
that. So yeah,
Hey, I want to thank you for calling. I'm going to let you go now because I got to wrap this up. I mean, not your
okay,
phone call. I
yeah.
got to wrap up the show.
All
But
right. Thanks
this
for
is no,
having me on.
hold
Thanks
it.
for having
Yeah,
this chat.
that this has been really, really illuminating. And not only that, I learned a few things from this too. So not to mention the viewers. So thank you very much. Please call anytime. Okay.
You got it. Thank you. All right.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. I really appreciate it. You take care. We'll see you. Let's think. And that was really fascinating. You know, we learned some things tonight, and I hope you did too. I certainly did. I mean, he's absolutely right about the fact that, oh, what did he, now I can't even remember what he said. Jesus Christ, I'm terrible. Uh, 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 he's talking, what was he talking about? About the fact that the light bulb just went off on my head. Oh, it was about how Bitcoin is useful. It's useful in transacting money, and that's not necessarily a buyer or seller thing. It's just moving it, and he's absolutely right about that. The blockchain is kind of hard to explain if you're not technically a savvy or astute, but that is the reason that cryptocurrency is actually so, and I don't want to say popular, but so revered, and that is this blockchain technology. And it has other uses other than just transferring money too. So anyway, thank you for calling. Really appreciate it. That was really cool. So yeah, so this is good. Yeah, like people doing work for me. Yeah, no, what, I don't have to talk. He's really interested. That's good. So, all right, so we're gonna wrap this up here. And usually, I got a part three. It's the C block, where I talk about weird shit. And the weird the weird shit tonight is our friend Jazz Shaw, and I'm gonna see when. So Jazz is the UFO guy for Salem Media. He writes on UFOs for all the Salem Media properties. All right. So, and he suggested in our last interview, which I think was 2-3 weeks ago, he said, we should do a show just on UFO stuff. I'm starting to think we did one about November or something like that. It was actually relatively well watched, and I think we should do another one too. But anyway, I'm going to point this out here about the fact that so the article he wrote on Hot Air is titled "The Latest Canadian Trans Surgery Debate is Mind Blowing," and he's talking about people who are signing up for gender affirming surgical procedures that basically they'll cut your dick off. now, now the thing is that's part of it, but the thing is apparently in Canada they've gotten really really efficient at this. So, and I had a note here in the Got an Extra Vagina department about the fact. So, and I know I went on and about this for 2 weeks, and I still find this funny as hell. There's an article in the Daily Star in UK about this woman. She's I don't know what the current term is. We used to call these people hermaphrodites, and that is she has two vaginas. And she said that she has two boyfriends, and as far as she's concerned, as long as the boyfriends stick to one vagina each, that she's not cheating. That's what she said. Okay, fine. I sent this to a friend of mine, and he wrote me back and said, my life would have been better if I'd never known this ever. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. And so now apparently if you want another vagina, and this is what this article is about. I missed the point. And then as you can go to Canada and you can have a second vagina installed. In other words, you already have one, and instead of turning you into a man, you're like a double woman, you know. Or there's people who are opting for basically the hermaphrodite special, where like if you've got a penis, you keep the penis, but they put a vagina in. I thought you'd find that fascinating because I know you're all perverts. That's the reason you're watching. All right. So what else I got here? And this is interesting. Now we'll end with this because this kind of goes back to what Think was talking about, and that is an engineer in Microsoft basically saved the internet from complete collapse a couple weeks ago when he noticed that there's a system to get online called SSH, and it's really technical, and I won't. It's a way to communicate with a server. It's a secure socket communication with a server, so that your communication with the server can't be hacked. We use this here for our website. It's very, very common. Almost everyone in the internet business uses it to communicate with servers. Well, it turns out that one of the companies and this is open source, but the thing with open source website or uh, technology and code is that usually somebody somewhere is kind of spearheading the project. And it turns out that some company, a volunteer who was volunteering to update the source code, he spent years planning this and put a backdoor into SSH, which means what would have happened is that any website on the planet, any server on the planet, web server would have been able to have been hacked, easily entered. And some guy, an engineer at Microsoft, happened to be just doing some work someday, and he noticed something weird, and he traced it, and one thing led to another, and he figured this out. And he probably saved billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of damage that could have been inflicted because of this. It's really fascinating. But the thing is, that just goes to show. I mean, as a general rule, like Linux, we use Linux servers here at Jim Peters at Night, and Linux has been is an open source project and always has been. There's no company behind it. If you might have heard of Red Hat, but Red Hat is a commercial organization, but it still just uses the Linux open source code. And the thing about Linux is that it's a server operating system, but unlike Microsoft, who apparently it seems like they've stopped doing this finally, where they would basically rewrite Windows every 3 years from scratch. The thing about Linux is they've been perfecting it for like 20 years, 25 years. And so it's basically perfect. I mean, and this is the thing, I try to explain this to friends of mine. If you don't know the password to a Linux server, you can't get in, period. They have spent so much time perfecting this and getting all the bugs out of it in any possible way anybody could hack the system, that now it's impossible. As a matter of fact, most companies use or hackers use what's called in the business social engineering. In other words, like say you want to get into a server at Citibank, right? You don't sit there and pound the server with passwords. Or what's the name of there's a program that does that. I can't remember what it's called. But you don't do that. What you do is you call somebody up at the ID department at Citibank, and you say, "I'm down here on the 7th floor. I got to get on the server. Sorry, I don't have the password. Could you give it to me?" If you make enough of those calls, sooner or later you'll get a password. And once you're in one single server in those organizations, usually you can get into all of them from that point. So the hacking is actually not done with code or by typing or by transmitting. It's actually done. You actually get a password from somebody clandestinely, and that's how you get in. But for all practical purposes, Linux servers can't be hacked because they're basically perfect at some point. But this guy, it's very, I was talking with Think about the technology called SSL, and what SSL is, that stands for Secure Socket Layer. And if you've never noticed, most of the addresses in your web browser online have now changed from HTTP to HTTPS, and that S stands for Secure Socket Layer. And what now most websites are transmitting secure encrypted information so that it can't be hacked. And Think is right. Once people get a hold of once quantum computers become common, that's all going to completely blow up. I mean, it's 128-bit encryption, and under current digital technology, it would take like hundreds of years to crack that stuff. But yeah, you get a quantum computer on that, probably do it in maybe a half a minute, maybe less. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Stuff, the changes are unbelievable. And so, if I'm going to get back to the UFO thing just to end this, people say, "Oh, how could they get here from here?" Well, the thing is, they're seriously, even if you're only 200 years ahead of us, you can probably figure out how to fly faster than the speed of light. I mean, shit, you know, it's impossible. No, it's not impossible. Even we already know it's not impossible. We know that we just don't have the resources to do it. But we already theoretically we know how to do it. It's like, I don't know. People don't. it really kind of bothers me. People don't pay any attention to not just technology but science. So and I don't even get me started on this. Maybe I'll talk about this on Thursday about the fact that okay, I'll leave you with this. So this last week when I took 3 days off, one of the things I was doing, I was maintaining our YouTube channel, and like I said, I don't put any trust in this at all. Is they're gonna fucking can my ass. I know that. But I'm maintaining it, and I didn't notice that on one show we had, 2 3 months ago, I got one negative comment. I think it's actually the only negative comment I've ever gotten, which kind of surprises me. But one guy, we were talking about climate change, and one guy said the comment was, "You realize when it comes to the climate change things, you're completely fooling yourself, right?" That was the comment or a paraphrase. And no, matter of fact, I'm not fooling myself. You're the one who's fooling yourself. Now, how can I be so certain of that? Well, here's the deal. I know the science, and you don't. You didn't look into it, did you? Now, maybe this person did, but the thing is, if I'm a betting person, I'm going to put money on this. I'm assuming he didn't. Most people don't. That's how come I can do this. Most people don't check. Most people don't actually read the science. It's like follow the science. The party of science. The Democrats bullshit. None of them know anything about science. It's fucking unbelievable. If you look at the science, climate change, and I am making this different than global warming. Global warming is real. The world is warming up. But if you're talking about climate change per se, hold on just a second. If you're talking about climate change per se, that humans are causing it, no, not so much. No. So, and I will leave you with that. Maybe we'll actually discuss that a little more on Thursday. We don't have a guest on Thursday so far. Jeff Myers coming on Wednesday. I'm taking tomorrow night off, so I will see you Wednesday night. Oh, we had a new end card too here too. We do this too. I want to thank Brittany Shears for cutting my hair on Saturday. We gave her credit now, so you'll see it here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night, Esperanza. Good night, Uncle Donnie. And good night to you, wherever you are. We'll see you on Wednesday, not tomorrow night, Wednesday. Take care.